All right. So look at somebody. Why don't you just stand up for a moment? Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Look at somebody. Look at about three people and say, it's time to get your head in the game. Get your head in the game. That's what UT should have done. Yes. Well, anyway, get your head in the game. We are so excited about what God's doing today. You can be seated. I just wanted to kind of get you wound up here today. I love these shirts. You like these shirts, Alex?
I like them.
Look at
these. These are the only non-offensive jerseys we could wear.
Yeah, we were trying to be politically correct, and so this is about the only thing we could do because everything else. I have all kind of cowboy stuff, but last year for my birthday, I was gifted just so benevolently. I was gifted a Redskins cap.
Pendant.
Yeah, a really nice cap, whatever. And so I'm so into football, there's times I've wore.
I know, yeah.
There's times I've wore cowboy and Redskins like together, different stuff.
Nice.
At the gym, and God stopped me and like, dude, are you confused? I'm like, it was just clean.
What about them Broncos, though?
Yeah, come on. Oh, my goodness.
What about them Tigers, though?
Hey, go. Go. Come on, go. G-E-A-U-G.
I knew that was just going to fall silent right there.
Well, it's talking about get your head in the game, and I said that a while ago. I said, that's what Texas, nobody even bit.
It's just...
Yeah, you heard
they heard it. They heard it.
Oh, wow. What a great week. I just want to kind of go over a little bit what's happening. This is Vision. Somebody say Vision.
Vision.
This is Vision Weekend, and kind of that's redundant around here. It's kind of hard to do to talk vision because we talk vision all the time at Oasis. We're always talking about the future. But Friday night, a lot of you were there. Can you believe that we have over 200 volunteers that serve consistently at Oasis Church?
Come on.
No. You realize that's more than we had, the second service or third service we launched, kind of bigger than that, but we dropped down a little bit that third service. That's more than we had in the entire church. And so we're just so excited. And so many of you were here. We got some OGs around here. We got people that have served. If you've served since the very first service, would you just wave at us right now? Just wave. Look at this.
Come on.
This is wow, that's incredible. And we love you and we're grateful for you. I just want to go over a few things.
I saw some people that was like, I want credit for this. I've been here for a while.
It's all me. I wrote some checks. It's all me, baby. But we're just so grateful for you. And Friday night, we talked about a lot of things, several things that were new that happened. Number one, our interns kind of ran Friday night. Yeah. And we have how many now with DLI this semester? Is it 17?
18, I believe.
18 students in our DLI, which is an online accredited college course. Plus, it's also an intern program that we do here at the local church. So that means if you're a department head, we got all kind of free help, baby. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But this year, they're going to have to step it up because Ms. Rachel's taking the course. Yeah. And so they better step it up because she's going to make sure, every class has to have a smarty pants. Well, guess what? Well, anyway. I'm just saying, it's going to be awesome. But it was incredible. We had a great time. We had a special performance at the end, which was really cool.
Lip sync.
Yeah, and it was just, if you weren't here, you missed it. They're profound. They're so profound, it's hard to even have words.
It's just hard to describe.
It's just hard to describe what it was. And so now we're getting ready to go. So we were kind of tying up, and in a couple of weeks for our birthday, Stephanie already said, which by the way, didn't she look incredible today? She always sounds good. Look good. Up in the game. I don't know how it is, but it's just kind of cool. A while ago, I was talking about Marlene. I walked in, said something I said, why is Marlene all dressed up? And Donald looked at me kind of like this, and he said, because they have a team, got to have a good-looking cheerleaders. And I'm like, he said that. Just saying. I wanted to hook a brother up. That's all right. I want to help him out. So it was awesome. But we are just so excited about where we're going now. And a couple of weeks ago, Alex preached a message, and it was just real prophetic. And we just keep talking about it because it was on the first Wednesday. I think it was 2 months ago. And he wouldn't really even, it was like, I think you got it like 5 o'clock. It was like, and Stephanie and I sometimes will ask, is that yours? Or did you hear somebody preach that? Was that a podcast? Was that whatever?
Was that Stephen Furtick?
Yeah, was that Furtick? Was that Michael Todd? Who that is. If it's me, it's always like, was that Bishop Jakes? I'm like, no, it's not Bishop Jakes, okay? Just because I said, get ready. But he preached the word, and I want you to kind of go into that because that's where we're going today. That's why we're wearing these jerseys and all that, because we're really talking today, and I just want to start. That was a point I said earlier about get your head in the game, but it's crazy crazy because we've had so many people that have come so far in such a short amount of time, but there's so much more to do. We're so grateful for Oasis. We're so grateful. A couple of weeks ago, we had over 500 on campus. I think our peripheral members, like if you added everybody's cats and dogs and nephews and aunties that say Oasis, their church, is like right at about 800 people in 3 years. To me, that's a big deal. It may not be a big deal to you, but it's a big deal. But we're not satisfied because we've just been building a base for what God's about to do in the city. So I want you to talk about what you were feeling in the Spirit.
Yeah, so I preached this message, and you probably heard us talking about it a lot. It's been kind of our theme for the last several weeks and really a couple months now. Yeah. This idea of I'm going pro. I'm going pro. And really the revelation of that was I started to think about that because normally, it's real easy for preachers to talk about promotion and new levels and breakthrough and dimensions and all that sort of stuff. And so I was like, I don't want to get up and just say the same old thing. So what is something that you're actually trying to speak that is something that is new? And God took me to really the meaning of the word pro. It doesn't necessarily always just mean new or better. What pro means is forward. And so what we mean when we say I'm going pro, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going professional or I'm getting better or I'm better than someone else or I'm climbing up some kind of ladder. It doesn't mean anything other than I'm going forward. I'm moving forward. And there's so many of you that even in the last several weeks through our 21 days of prayer and fasting, through different things that we are doing, you are going forward in your life. How many of you have moved forward? You've moved past some things. Look around you. How many have moved past through some things in the last couple of weeks? So there's so many people that are moving through things. You're leaving things behind you. We talked about the story of Joseph, of how he had a dream in his heart, but he went through so many heartaches and so many trials, and his family abused him. They sold him into slavery. He was falsely accused of sexual abuse and thrown into prison. All of these different things were done to him, but eventually he just kept moving forward. And it's this whole idea, if you'll just keep moving forward, even if it doesn't seem like progress to you, that I'm going pro, I'm moving forward, that God is taking you somewhere. And so we've done this whole idea of I'm going pro, but what happens when you go pro?
Yeah, what happens?
So we're doing this thing. It's like, I'm going pro and I'm going forward. I'm not going back, all that stuff. But what happens when you, come on, let's just go. Let's just do it together. See, you're getting double today. You're getting your money's worth today. Two of us today. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Second offering.
Yeah. But what happens when you go pro? And I started to think about this, and as we're going pro as a church, and we're going to be talking about some sports stuff and using some illustrations today, but we're talking about all of us as a church, as a people. What happens when you go pro? Well, just like my mom's revelation, this is a huge bomb that might just blow your mind.
Powerful.
When you go pro, you play the game. Oh, yeah. I need an organ or something. That was just... So you don't just have a pro status just to have that title and to wear a jersey and just to sit the sidelines. Maybe that's what some people do because they haven't made it to the level of where they're in a starting position. But everybody goes pro because you have a dream of playing the game. You have a dream of getting on the field. You have a dream of throwing the touchdown, of making the 3-point, of hitting the home run, or whatever it may be. A pro plays the game. Yeah. And so you have to get in the game. And what it is really, it's no longer about preparation. It's about execution.
Doing it.
It's about stepping in and actually doing it. And that's one thing we've been talking about over and over the last several weeks as a church. We are stepping into things that we've been talking about for a long time, we're now doing. So there are things there, Berkman Elementary, I know we keep talking about that, but we're doing reading programs. Did you know, let me just throw this vision out there. Did you know that if a child does not learn to read by the 3rd grade, most likely they will not graduate high school and they will be incarcerated at least one point in their life? So what we're doing as a church is we're saying, hey, we're going to be for the city. We're going to be for people. We're going to go teach some kids how to read and make sure that they don't end up in a situation where they have to be incarcerated. Come on. We're serving the homeless. We're partnering with Circle of Hope to give food distribution. We're doing discipleship class. All of these things that we've been talking about, that we've been preparing for, that we've been training for. Now it's time to get in the game. Like now it's time to no longer just be thinking in your head, what am I going to do during that play? It's no longer time to just be watching film. It's time to actually get on the field and run the play. And one thing that I have to say is we're going to talk about some different kinds of players that are here at Oasis and how so many different types of players, because there's a lot of different ways that you can become a professional. There's a lot of different stories that people have when they step on the field. There are a lot of different players. And what I want to just say, and what I want to be so thankful for today is we have so many different stories here at Oasis. We have so many different backgrounds that people are coming from, so many different beliefs, so many different things that have happened to people, things that people have done. We were talking about just the ministers that spoke the last 2 weeks on Sunday and on Wednesday night, those that their stories would blow you would be like, you let them preach? Like, you let them up there? Like, are you serious? But we are so thankful for all the different types of players and all the different people that God's bringing to Oasis.
Well, we were telling that. I think it was interesting because many of you don't know this, and I won't tell you the particulars of who, but just between Sunday and Wednesday, murder, rape, incest, abuse, incarceration, abortion, same-sex relationships. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Just about anything that you would think that culture would try to malign somebody upon and look somebody down, preach from this pulpit out 12 times. The trophies of the grace of God, you need to give God praise for that. And the first thing, one thing we want to talk about, they just say this, say get in the game. Get in the game. And in order to get in the game, I think that the first thing you look at when you're going to pick, like if we were coaches or we were owners or whatever, we would look for free agents, because free agents, these are people that you got to pick up. But a lot of times they're people no one else saw. Either they didn't fit, because look at it now, the thing that's going, either they didn't fit the culture of where they were, they didn't fit the team, maybe they weren't getting enough money, they weren't getting enough recognition, but they had the talent or whatever. And sometimes just their attitude sucked and they just got cut, but they get humbled. Then what do you do? And I think the free agent thing, when I look at Oasis, it's amazing because there's so many people that no one else saw value in. And I've had so many people that are leadership here that didn't even feel like they were welcome to sit on a pew somewhere else. And so when I go to another church, I get judged, and here I'm like, oh, you want to lead a team? You want to serve? You want to be our hostess? You want to be our usher? You want to do whatever? Or maybe they were cut from the team. We have people here that have literally been disfellowshipped. I know you don't even know what that is. I don't want you to ever know what that is, but they've been cut off from a church and told you can't come here. Your ex-husband comes here. Somebody talked about you and said you did this. You're not welcome at our church. And literally ushers would tell, they said we can't talk to you. You can't come here. But yet they come to Oasis and we're like, hey, you're not only on the team, you can be the quarterback. Hey, can you throw a ball? Whatever. Because it's free agents and God allows us to find. Can you give God praise for that? That we have people that we've been able, and because there's people at Oasis that you may have been terrible. I was going to use another word because it doesn't matter how good the owner, how rich the owner is. It doesn't matter how rich the owner is or how good the coach is if the quarterback's terrible.
Right.
And a lot of times our owner is Jesus Christ, and we have an incredible team, and this is the church of Jesus Christ. Right. But if you don't have people that have talent, and there's some people, nobody ever saw the value in you, but you're coming into a culture of honor where somebody believes in you. And even if you're not as talented as someone else is, because you're honored, it makes you want to work harder. You're in the weight room, you're in the prayer room. You're, Pastor, what can I do? I know I'm not that good, but how can I get better? And it's crazy because after all these people spoke the last couple of weeks, and 12 people, every one of them have texted one of us at least, or maybe both of us, what did I do wrong? How can I do better? And that's just from the pulpit. That's not including all the other areas of this church that constantly, when we send an email and say, hey, just check this. I don't think, have we had anybody really have a real attitude in almost 3 years? A real one? Maybe 2? Yeah. I think
maybe 2. Yeah.
Maybe 2. Maybe
we'll
2. Let's just say 2. You're not here. They're gone. It's okay. But a free agent. And here's the scripture for that. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. I love this scripture. We quote it a lot. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. Aren't you grateful? For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And there are people here, I think it's so exciting, for maybe the first time, you may have got saved here, or you may have come here broken. Maybe for the first time in your life, you're having an opportunity today to get in the game.
Get in the game. Get in the game. The other kind of player that we want to talk about is rookies. Come on. There are a lot of rookies that come into a professional, and rookies are interesting because rookies can be a star in high school and college, but when they get to the professional leagues, it's a whole different ball game. Yeah. And you see so many rookies that they can either kind of just get in and slowly work their way in. You'll see some people that just are a disaster. They completely fail. Like it's an awful situation. And then you'll see these rookies every once in a while that will get in the game and will just blow people's minds. I know Patrick Mahomes, just a little shout out to the Chiefs. But there are so many people that are new maybe to this environment. Maybe you're new to church. Maybe you are a young person. I kind of want to address two different types of rookies. I think that there are some of you where you really are just, you're young, you're new to this thing. Many of you are maybe new to leading, you're new to serving, all these different things. And I think, God, we have so many young people at Oasis. And I think that's one thing that maybe it doesn't seem like it because we are so multi-generational. It doesn't maybe seem, but we have a ton of youth and young adults. And I'm so thankful that we have so many amazing young people that are making this church happen. Come on, can we give it up for them?
Make it happen. They're the ones working. They make it happen.
Even up here leading worship in our productions and all in our kids. Y'all don't know, we have a lot of young people that really save our kids ministry. They are serving our children, that generation reaching out down to the next generation. And I'm so thankful. We've got some amazing things coming. We're going to be kicking off on October 5th. We're going to be having a youth and young adult worship service here at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. So just throwing that out there, October 5th. But we believe in this generation. And I think that's one thing. Maybe you don't know this or not. I'm 25. I don't know if you know that or not. I know I'm already getting kind of bags under my eyes and stuff. But we believe in this whole idea of multi-generational. Yes. So if you're in this place and you're like, well, I'm too young, or maybe I'm not accepted, or there's people that are more experienced than me, or they know all the language, they know all the church words, just get all of that out of your mind and realize that this is your opportunity, that you can step up. You can be that star breakout rookie that steps on the field, that makes the touchdowns, that makes the runs, that does things that blow people away.
Yeah, we want to give you a chance to do that.
Yeah. And rookies have to prove themselves. The other thing is maybe you're a new believer in this place. And can we just give a hand clap for all of our people that are new believers? We're so thankful. We have every Sunday, I know you may not realize this, but every Sunday there are people making decisions to follow God. And the reason we say decisions is because the Bible talks about it's in their heart. We don't know their heart. Only God knows that. But they're saying, hey, today I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go get a Bible. I'm going to go get a devotional. I'm going to get signed up on a serve team. I'm going to get in a group. I'm going to do these things to get closer to God. So wherever you're at, if you feel like you're a rookie and you're like, man, I'm coming onto the team and everybody, they already know the team chemistry and they already know what works. And there's already these little friend groups and everybody knows how to talk to each other. I just want to let you know that there is a place here for you. 1 Timothy chapter 4 says, don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Don't let anyone think less of you because you're inexperienced. Don't let anyone think less of you because you're new. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are the rookie. But here's the thing, because I hear a lot of people quote that and they're like, well, you can't think less of me because I'm young. But here's what you have to do. If you don't want people to think less of you, then be an example to all believers in what you say, in what you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity. So here's the thing. I believe that we have some incredible rookies. We have some incredible people that are getting on the team, but you have to prove your stuff. You have to live it. You have to get on the team and you have to prove that all the hype if you're into sports, we watch the ESPN highlight reels. You watch the stuff coming out of House of Hoops. You watch all this stuff that's coming out of high school, all these different high school highlights, all these different things. And so are you going to live up to the hype or are you going to cave under the pressure? And I think there is a lot of pressure for young people in the world today because we live in a different world. And I work a lot with our high schoolers, with our middle schoolers. You guys would be amazed if you don't have children. Your mind would literally be blown. You would probably be outraged if you understood even the things that are in the actual curriculum of Austin and Round Rock and all these different places. And so we know it's a different world. There's a different pressure, but I believe that they're going to have the opportunity and that they're going to have the ability to prove themselves in what they say and what they live.
Oh, you ought to clap your hands and give God praise for that. We believe it, these rookies. I think something else in this level of players we were talking about, something we were having coffee, because you do realize that when you're preaching together, this is harder than just us here, because we've had to synergize this thing, put it together. But I think something that was big deal we were talking about, that even superstars get hurt. Even superstars get injured. And I want to talk about injured players, because when God gave us a word to launch Oasis, I was praying one day and Stephanie come in. I usually pray in the living room. She plays, or den, front room, whatever you call it. And she's usually in the bedroom. She come out and she said, I feel like the Lord spoke to me that our initial calling is going to be to people that have been church hurt and wounded. We had no idea. That was a word from the Lord, but we really had no idea, because you can be a superstar or not, and you can get taken out. It doesn't matter. You can break a collarbone just like that. You can twist a knee and ankle, whatever. You can get hurt. Something hurt them and prevented them from playing at the way they could. Some never can get back to the way they could. Some get back in the game and are as good or maybe better. Some just get back in. They're never as good. And then some never get back in the game, but they're still a part of the team, and they're still celebrated for giving everything they had to the team, and the team still takes care of them. But there's so many people that have been hurt, even in church. There are people that are preachers and pastors, and I want to honor you right now, because Oasis, many of you don't even know, we have had pastors and ministers that come to Oasis that have been broken. There's moral failure, there's financial, I don't know if you know it, but there's pressure out there. There's pressure in ministry, there's pressure in church. There's some of you that weren't in quote unquote pulpit ministry, but you served in a church and you got hurt, you got wounded, something got broken, something got snapped, something got whatever, and it's so easy to feel forgotten and rejected and thrown away. What if God is giving Oasis an entire team that were wounded, but now they're restored, and we didn't cut them? Somebody else may have cut you. We're like, come on over here on our team. We're going to try you out right now, because there's so many wounded. In Psalms, the psalmist said in 147:3, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. Because here's the thing I think interesting in sports, but in church, not just sports, but in church, that if you're not taken care of and healed properly, it can take you out forever. And you said something a while ago at the beginning, and I almost started, I said, no, it's his turn to preach. But you have to leave your then to get to there. And you need to write that down. You have to leave your then to get to there. But I said this in an intensive a few weeks ago, but I want to say it today in every service. So remind me to say it in every service. Please do not bring your hurts of another ministry into this house. Because some other pastor wanted your wife doesn't mean I do. Just because some other ministry team embezzled your money doesn't mean we will. Just because somebody else treated you like you were lower class doesn't mean it's ever going to happen to Oasis. And I'm telling you, after 3 years, I think we've earned the trust. And quit bringing your baggage of your past. We want you to get healed right. It may hurt. We're going to have to set it. We may have to medicate it. We may have to put you on the bench for a while. But if you're on the bench, I'm going to sit on the bench with you and encourage you and tell you that when you're healed, you're going to get back in the game. Whoo, I feel like preaching that today. And another thing about getting in the game is not just wounded, but what about retired players? Because there are people that retire because they don't feel valued, but they still have the wind in them. They just weren't on a team that was any good. They just didn't want to continue, or they thought they were ready to retire, but they were still young enough. And you hear about those people. Every couple of years you hear about them. They retire, and then all of a sudden they come back, and they try, and people love them, people hate them, whatever. What if we could create a way where retired player, people that, well, I don't sing anymore, I don't play anymore, I don't do youth anymore, I don't do kids ministry anymore because I was burnt out. And we say, well, okay, that's okay, but it's amazing. Give them 6 months, give them a year, give them 2 years, or sometimes give them one service at a life-giving church at Oasis where the Holy Spirit begins to awaken things in you. And then you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was retired, but I feel like I'm being refired by the Holy Ghost. Okay, they think they're done, but they make a comeback. And I just feel in the anointing today, and we said this, we almost started preaching at the coffee shop Friday, because I feel like Oasis is a place for people who have fivefold calling to make a comeback. You may have had a fivefold calling somewhere else, and you had to leave there. You literally had to disconnect from that team because of different reasons or whatever. But now that you're here, you're not retired, baby. It's time to get in the game. And people begin to return. And a lot of people, it's not about money, fame, or whatever. They just love the game. They just love the game. And I love it about church. There's just people here that I just love to worship. I looked over today, and Matt's not on stage today. He's not preaching today. He's got on his Dallas shirt. He's feeling good, whatever. And during worship, look, he's over his knees over here. He's on his knees. A lot of times Michelle will be on her knees. And I'm just like, man, he don't have to be on the stage to worship. He is a worshiper, whether he's on the stage or not. I love that we were joking about Miss Rachel, but Miss Rachel gonna teach you whether you're in her class or not. I'm 52 years old with a doctorate degree, and she corrects my grammar. I mean, she's going to teach that because she loves the game. So there are people here that just because you retired, here's what the psalmist, Psalm 92:12, but the godly will flourish like palm trees and grow strong like the cedars of Lebanon, for they are transplanted to the Lord's own house. Oh, I want to preach that right now. Some of you had to be transplanted so you could flourish. Quit holding on and saying, but you don't understand what happened to me. If that had not happened to you, if you had not gone through the pain, you would have not been replanted. And some of you had to go through the pain of your past in order to flourish now, because if you weren't hurt, you wouldn't come to this little church. There's some of you, I see you so cute, you mega church people. You would have never come to some little shoebox like this, walking in here in our little foyer, whatever. You had to be so hurt, so lonely, so high, so crazy, so on drugs, so offended, so mad, so nuts that you said, well, maybe I can go there. And you walked in and it was a catfish because the Holy Ghost was here. But if you had not gone through what you've went through, you wouldn't be able to put roots down here. But it's time to put some roots down here so you can flourish. And they flourish in the courts of God. Even in old age, they will still produce fruit, and they will remain vital and green even in old age. He talked about the youth, but I'm 52. Can I preach up in here right now? I don't care how old you are, there is a place for you at Oasis Church. We will not be gender restricted. We will not be age restricted. We will not be socioeconomic restricted, and we will not be race restricted. There is a place for you at Oasis Church. Get in the game. If you got to have a walker, baby, take that walker out there and throw that ball. Come on. Come on.
Come on. How do I follow that up? The last type of player that we want to talk about, and maybe you haven't found yourself in one of these categories. Maybe you're like, that sounds good. That's great. That's for my neighbor. You ever been in church before and you're like, that's good for my neighbor. You know what I'm saying? That's good for my wife. Not for me, but my wife really needed to hear that, Pastor. But the last thing that we want to talk about is this idea of the returning players. Because see, there are a lot of people that are new, that are drafted, that are injured, but there are a lot of people that they played last year and they're going to play again this year. Like they're faithful, they're steady. We know their stats. We know they're going to be on the roster. We know they're going to be starters. Like Tom Brady, he don't got to fight for his starting position. Like we know he's going to be starting this year. But what happens when you are starting and you've started so many seasons in a row that things just start to get a little dull, that things just start to get a little redundant? When you go to church week after week and year after year and you serve, or you try and you do all these things, and you're like, well, it seems to be just kind of getting a little old. And could you imagine these star athletes that if during the summer and during the off season, if they were to say, well, I've done it before, so I think I'll be good for this coming up year. Like I think I can kind of take a step back. Yeah. I can kind of relax a little bit. I can take my foot off the gas a little bit. And I should be good because I did so good last year, and hopefully that will carry me over into this year. And you see so many churches even that will have some success in reaching people and impacting their community. And what happens is they will take their foot off the gas. They'll lose sight of the vision. They'll lose sight of what God has called them to do. And at one time they were good. And I'm not going to mention some teams but at one time, like anybody, those players that were like, man, back in the day, you remember when we had that quarterback, like back in the day.
Yeah.
And back in the day is great, but what about this year?
What about this year?
What about this season? What about 2019, 2020? What about this Super Bowl? And I think that it would be very easy for us, and we mentioned this on Friday night, it would be very easy for us to look around and be like, man, we got 3 services. We're going to be building a new building. We got all these serve teams. We got a worship team. We got a lot of pastors. We got all that. Like, we're good. And it would be easy to kind of take our foot off the gas. To say, man, well, we're reaching a lot of people. We're serving the community. Isn't that enough? Like, can't we just kind of take it easy for right now? And so what you have to do, and just like the players, every season that you're going into, and I know we're talking about the church, but this applies to your life. Every season that you're going into, you have to re-fire up the vision in your life. You have to get re-energized with the vision. I love Nick Saban as a football coach. I do not like the University of Alabama football team, but I love Nick Saban.
Yeah,
Saban.
Come on, baby.
I mean, you can't beat him. And I love every year when they win the national championship, they go up to him and they're like, you know, Coach Saban, man, you just won the national championship. What's going to happen? And he usually just stands there. He's just like, yep. Well, you know, we're going to be getting ready for next year. I'm gonna give the players about 3 days off, and then we're getting back to training camp. Thank you very much.
And
the interview people, and they're just like, he just did it.
Yeah.
But he knows soon he's no longer going to be the national championship. Yeah. He gets to hold on to that trophy for a little bit, but the new season is coming. So and if we don't keep firing up the vision and keep constantly looking at, there is so much more for us to do in this city, that God has called us to do so many things. Galatians 6:9 says this: let us not grow weary in doing good. Yeah. For in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. We talk about this all the time with our serve team, but the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. That there is such a harvest of people in this city that need to be reached, and we need to share the love and the story and the message of Jesus, that there is hope for their life. And I don't know if you know this or not, we meet with the Round Rock pastors once a quarter, every pastor in Round Rock. There's over 100 churches represented there, almost every denomination, every background. If it's a Christian church, a Catholic church, they're there, whatever it is. And they did a statistic. They polled every church in Round Rock. The estimated population by the end of this year of Round Rock is 173,000 people. Just Round Rock. That's just Round Rock. If every church, every seat, every service was filled, there would be under 20,000 people in a church.
Yeah.
So even if every church was packed, it's not even a drop in the bucket. Yeah. It's barely even 10% of the people that need to be reached. Yeah. And so we need you. If you're returning and you're like, man, we've been doing good, we've been crushing it, man. We got 500 people in the church. We got 3 services. No, we need, because there's more to do, that there is a season that is coming, and we've got more people to reach. More people need to hear the gospel. There's more salvations, more healings, more addicts that need to be set free. We got to reach some more people.
We got to do it.
So if you're on the team, that was our introduction.
That was the introduction, dude.
30 minutes. That was great. We did great. So that's gonna be the longest introduction and shortest sermon, hopefully. Hopefully. So what we're talking about is we're talking about getting. So everybody, you on the team? Everybody good? You on the team? You ready? Awesome. So we got all the different players. We going pro. But what happens when you get on the team? Remember at the beginning, what happens when you go pro? Time to play the game. So if we're going to be on the team, we've got to know what we're doing. You've got to know what playbook you're running. You got to know what scheme you're running. You got to know how the team operates. Like, is it a run? Is it pass heavy? Is it an option? Is it a spread? Is it triple option? All these different things. We have to know the play that we're running. And every team has different plays, different schemes. It changes oftentimes. I'm so thankful that LSU finally got a passing game, a little bit of a passing game. I know you're not going to cheer. It's okay. I'm still going to be happy about it. But unfortunately, many churches, just like many people in life, we don't know what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
And so imagine if you just got on a football field, maybe you've seen this at like a peewee game or something, and the coach was just to hand a person the ball, and they just said, just score.
Yeah.
Just take the ball and score. And you got one dude over here like, are you going to pass it? Are you going to run it? Am I a lineman? Am I a receiver? What do we just do it.
Which way do I
just
run?
Go. Just
Which
run.
Way do I run? Which way?
You distracted me. What do we do? What's the play that we're running? What's the scheme that we're running? D.L. Moody said this: our greatest fear should not be fear of failure, but of succeeding at something that doesn't really matter. Our greatest fear should not be of failure. Our greatest fear as a church should not be closing our doors and we can't pay the light bill, and that shouldn't be our greatest fear. Our greatest fear should be of succeeding of something that really doesn't matter. So are we doing what matters? Yeah. Are we reaching people? Are we focused on what really matters? And that's why we do this every year, because we want to fire you back up and focus you of what really matters. Because there are so many things that you can do. We hear so many different churches. There's so many incredible things that churches do, but are we doing what God has called us to do? Are we doing what God has put in our heart? You can write this down just at one point from this sermon. We can't just aim at anything. We have to aim at the right thing. We can't just aim at anything. We can't just say, here's the football score. We can't just say, let's have a great church. We got to aim at the right thing. What does that mean? What play are we trying to run?
And I think the thing we have to ask is in that play is, this is not our vision. This is God's vision. Yes. And we have to separate, because it's so easy. Even pastors can become like CEOs and they have their own thing. And a lot of times I go to people's churches and it's like, well, it's really not a church. It's a platform for a celebrity to get up and have groupies. Why did that go over like that? That is not what God called Oasis to be. If people say, what is our vision? What Pastor, what is your vision? I don't really have a vision. I'm following his vision. Come on. And his vision is very clear. It's in Matthew 28:19. Go, therefore. So number one, I say it all the time, the gospel is go. 2/3 of God's name is go. G-O-D. 2/3 of his name is go. God. So he said, go you into all the world. Go, therefore, make disciples of all nations. That word nations there is ethnos. One of our visions is to make sure that every ethnic culture of this city and this region is a part of Oasis Church, gets to come to an Oasis Church, gets to have an Oasis Church. If you have Indian neighbors, Hindu neighbors, Muslims neighbors, please bring them. Oasis can't wait to meet them, because God has called us to the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We were talking, do you realize we have water baptized over 100 people? You need to give God praise for that. That's incredible. Teaching them. Somebody say teaching them. That's discipling. So going and finding the lost, baptizing them and teaching them, that is everything we do at Oasis. We're not just up here with our jerseys on having fun. We're trying to, as my old shop teacher said, we're trying to learn you something. Trying to teach you something, and sometimes it comes in a different method so that you can remember that. He said, teach them to observe all things I've commanded you. I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. So I just want to make sure you understand when we're talking about the building here in a moment, and we're going to throw that up. They're getting ready. I want you to see this, but this is not what I would build. I would build about 60,000 square foot, 100,000. We're not building some mausoleum. We're basically building what we know we can house. The parking, the city has told us what we can build with parking here on this land, because it's not just about this new building. As we do this new building, we're praying for our second campus. As we get our second campus, we got to pray for our third campus, because it's not about buildings. It's not about saying, I go to that church. No, we are the church. Yeah. We don't have church. We are the church. Our vision is not about buildings. Our vision is about people. But for us to reach more people for a greater harvest, you have to have a bigger barn. And so I want to throw that up real quick. And I just want you to see this. This is just the artist rendition. Rachel's worked real hard. It's not exact, but welcome to Oasis Church, baby. That's kind of over the interstate if you're driving over. That's going to be tall enough that on I-35, as you're driving by that lit sign, we get a free billboard, baby. And everybody, I forget how many hundreds of thousands drive by that every day. You're going to see Oasis Church. But and we're excited about the building, but it's not about the building. The reason we need a building is because of the harvest.
Yeah, we have to have the harvest, and that's where we're going to give you 4 things real quickly, and I want to just tell you the first one is that the first thing that is our play, that is our mission, that what we're trying to do here at Oasis Church first, before anything else, before we do any training, before we do any kind of expansion, before we do any kind of anything, the first thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to see lost people saved. We are trying to see lost people saved, and I know that's maybe not politically correct to call somebody lost and all these different things, but I think we can all agree when you look around the world today, there are a lot of people that are lost. Yeah. They do not know where they are going. They do not know how to control their relationships, how to control their addictions, how to control the lust of the flesh, as we would call it. They don't know what they're doing. And so we are trying to see lost people saved. We're not here to judge them. We're not here to condemn them. We're not doing any of that. We're probably more laxed on that than most churches, but we're trying to show them the good news of Jesus, that there is hope for their life. And so I just want to explain just real quickly, That's why many things, even here on Sundays, I know many of you that are mature believers, you're kind of like, why do we do things that way? And, why don't we teach these things? And why don't we do things? Because a lot of times on our Sunday services, we're trying to teach, but also we know that there are a lot of lost people in our services that don't know God, that have never read the Bible, that have never really been to a church. And so really our Sunday services, we gear them more towards those people because we know that they are coming in here. They are looking for something. Like I know it's hard for us church people to believe, but if you're not a church person and you show up in a little church like this, you are looking for something. And so every Sunday, no matter what it is, and if you're in this place today, I know we've been talking about a lot about our church, but every Sunday we want people to know that there is hope, that there is a gospel, that there is a good news, that it's not just bad news, it's not just condemnation, but that God has something good for their life. And so before anything else, we're trying to rob hell and populate heaven and for the kingdom of God.
That'll preach right there. Rob hell and populate heaven. But the next thing on that is saved people. Somebody say saved people disciple. You don't just sit on the pew. You have to be discipled. And there are so many people that get saved in our generic church culture in America right now. You can come in and you can raise your finger and make a decision, and that's it. You just go to church, nothing happens. No, we want to disciple you. Disciple comes from the root word to discipline. To disciple you in the disciplines of Jesus Christ. And it's so clear. If you've ever heard me preach, I probably say it every sermon, Acts 2:42. And they continued steadfast. That means continually, daily, in the apostles' doctrine, their teaching and fellowship, in the breaking of bread and in prayers. Oasis Church we've been working for 2 years trying to find the model of how can we be Acts 2:42 today in today's culture. How do we do daily community? How do we truly disciple with the word, with prayer, with mature believers, getting brand new people connected to people that can be a mom and a dad and a brother and a sister? How do we get that family dynamic, that koinonia, that community? And what we have really felt in going forward, starting in October, we're just going all out for what we're calling care courses and connect groups. And we want you to sign up today. We want you to get on there. It's explained online, but it's a huge shift for us. We're still going to have our first Wednesday. We're going to have our deep in on first Wednesday. That's non-negotiable. We're going to have Sunday night encounter nights because how many of you want to go deeper? I want to go deeper. I love to go deeper, but here's the thing. Not everybody can pass the scuba test. And why would we create a church where only a few people that don't have a fear of darkness and depths and all that kind of stuff? We got maybe 2 people in the whole church that know how to scuba dive. And I know a lot of churches that are geared to go scuba. So everybody sits on the cliff watching the 2 people scuba dive. I'm going to watch you go deep because you're cooler than me, but I'm going to stay on the... No, baby. I want to be with everybody on the boat. And we want to disciple you and take you deeper. And that's going to happen as we progress. And so we're going to sign up today. It's just a huge shift for us that we're going to have care courses that are going on. That's going to be systematic every week. But every other week, there'll be a connect group where you don't go to both. You'll go to one or the other, and you'll be connected to community. Because as we grow, we don't want anybody to feel like, well, I don't have a place. I don't know anybody. No, you do now. Yeah. Amen. We're headed that way.
So you can go to oasistx.org, get involved to sign up for one of those groups today. The next thing, and I know we're wrapping up as our worship team's getting ready to come, is discipled people trained. Disciple people trained, because we believe that we want to disciple people, but we also want to begin to train people for the work of the ministry. Ephesians chapter 4 says this: now these are the gifts that Christ gave to the church, the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastor, and the teacher. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do his work and to build up the church, the body of Christ. And so one thing that may be different here at Oasis, and that's why we're so big on you getting involved with serving and getting involved with all these different things, is we know that we can't do it on our own. That a few of us, the few leaders and pastors and teachers and all these different things, that we can't do it on our own. What we have to do is we have to equip God's people for the work of the ministry. And so we've done some incredible things. Dad already mentioned DLI. We have 18 DLI students, and DLI is an online Bible college. Yeah, we got a couple in here. Let's give it up for them. Yeah. DLI is an online Bible college where they will be taking fully accredited Bible college classes, being equipped, being trained in biblical knowledge, hermeneutics, history, all of these different things. But also they're going to be working with us one-on-one. We're doing a connect group just for our DLI students where we're going to be training them how we do things here and training them how to teach and how to disciple people and how to encourage people and all of these different things. We're going to be training them because we want to see them trained. We know that for God to do all that he's called us to do, you hear us talk about multiple campuses. You hear us talking about reaching other cities and all of these different things. We know for us to do all that God has called us to do. And I'm not just talking about us. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about all of us. For us to do what God has called us to do, we have to train some people.
And I think that the last thing is that trained people mobilize. Trained people mobilize. If you're used to being a part of a church where you're just simply the person that sits on the pew and comes and just sits there and looks, well, I don't know if I like their coffee, like their music, like their screens or whatever, it gets uncomfortable a little bit at Oasis because we use everybody. And we're going to give you a chance to get in the game. It may be at a very small, you may be the water boy for a while. You may just be, it may happen. We got a bunch of water boys right here. We got the best in the world. I have the best personal assistants in the world. I don't even have to breathe. I mean, today, Brother Cruz, I almost said Pastor Cruz. Was that prophetic? I don't know what that was. But Brother Cruz back there, he's in DLI right now, baby. You better watch out, baby. But I was in a hurry, so he actually fixed my oatmeal so that I could run over and be here for the team thing. And he say, oh, that's not spiritual. No, it's pretty spiritual when the pastor's going to preach 3 sermons. And you have to be mobilized. And so I want you to stand with me right now. And here's the thing the whole time. And this is, Alex, you were awesome today. You were incredible. You were awesome. And I feel that this, and I know it's funny, but don't leave here going, oh, they so carnal, they using football. No, we're here to try to tell you, get in the game. And it is time for you to be mobilized.